Hey guys, welcome to Neat Movie News. My name is Dean Thomas.
His name is Dean. We like Dean.
Dean.
I apologize if my voice sounds a little off. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold right now, but that didn't stop me from lacing up my hiking boots, grabbing a tent, and heading into the woods for the sequel to the Blair Witch Project. This movie is simply titled Blair Witch.
The guy who uploaded this video said it was from a tape he found in the Black Hills woods. I think that might be my sister.
You really think your sister could still be out there after all these years?
If there is any chance I could find out what happened to her, I need to try.
Now, there was a sequel to the original that I actually haven't seen, so we're just going to disregard that ever happened. I actually watched the original Blair Witch Project for the first time just a couple of days ago because I was actually curious to see this movie. As I started to get into horror movies a little bit more, I never used to watch them at all. I'm starting to kind of expand my horizons a little bit, starting to appreciate horror movies. So I definitely wanted to go see this because I actually really did like the original Blair Witch Project. Now, this movie obviously is a sequel. It's kind of following the family line of Heather, who was the original girl in the main Blair Witch Project, and now her brother wants to head out into the same woods and try to figure out what exactly did happen to his sister. And as we all know is going to happen, some very horrific things start to go down.
Do you believe in the stories about the Blair Witch?
Oh my god.
This looks familiar.
We've been walking in a circle.
No way!
Now, job number one of a horror movie really is to what? Scare you. And on that level alone, I think this movie did its job because there's definitely some very, very scary moments. I can't say this movie horrified me, but it definitely scared me. There's times where you're on the edge of your seat, you'll jump out of your seat a little bit, and it's because that the Blair Witch Project was kind of that first movie that really entered in the new found footage movies. And this movie, what it did really well is it built upon that. Yes, it's still found footage, but they adapt today's technology into it. So you've got drone cameras they're using, little webcams, little earpiece cameras. And I think the part that works really well about that is you've still got that found footage feel, but you're not just like lost in this really grainy, shaky handheld camera. There's a lot more camera work and technique actually involved in this movie, which made it actually easier to watch because it wasn't just shaking all over the place at all times. And it also kind of added to the eeriness because of the different angles and camera shots they could actually get at different levels on the ground and as we go. And I thought this movie did a decent job of actually building on the mythology that the Blair Witch Project had set up, kind of building up what this Blair Witch is and kind of adding a little bit more to the myth and the legend of it. But actually, one of the problems I had with it is I wish this movie would have done that a little bit more. There's still some questions left unanswered regarding the legend and the myth to me. There's also some more questions just in general that the movie brings up that it doesn't really answer, especially with some of the characters and what goes down with them. So that was something that I wish would have given a little bit more explanation to kind of build on this. Now, the movie also has some really great sound design. Some of the noises and things you hear in the woods, the breaking of branches, really is what helps sell this movie, is why it's scary, because the sound design is so great.
There's something out there.
We found it!
That's not your sister. That can't be her.
Come on! Get in the corner! Don't look!
But as I said, with the mythology, they built well, but didn't do it quite as well. I thought the sound design was something kind of similar to that because they do a lot of really cheap jump scares with the sound. As classic horror movie, suddenly there's a loud noise for no reason, or there's just this random thing that happens and the music gets really loud when it really didn't need to, and it's just simply to kind of get you to get that jump scare, to jump out of your seat a little bit. And a lot of them were pretty cheap. It's not really just, almost the camera turns on, so that noise is really loud and suddenly just kind of like catches you off guard. So there was a little too many of those just kind of cheap jump scares for me that got a little old. So that kind of disappointed me. But overall, like I said, guys, I think this movie does its job in terms of being a scary movie and scaring you. There's some very creepy elements. It does build on the mythology, and the Blair Witch is still a horrific thing. I mean, the legend is creepy enough as is, and that's kind of why I like these movies because I'm a big person with like myths and legends and stuff and kind of investigating that sort of stuff. And while I don't normally always believe it necessarily, I still find it really interesting. And these are the kind of movies that like the story itself is very interesting. I just wish we could maybe got a little bit more detail into what was happening and slight explanation because this movie definitely ramps up what happened in the original and takes it to a little bit higher level, notches it up a gear to really get into the horror elements of this. And I thought it was really well directed because of found footage can get really choppy and eerie, not eerie, but hard to follow because the camera's all over the place. You're not really focusing in on what you want to see. You can't really see what you want to see. But I thought Adam Wingard, who directed this, actually did a really good job of showing you just enough with the cameras and not being really just shaky and you're not watching just feet run on the ground. He did a really good job with the found footage and adding new things to it. So I did like the movie. It definitely was creepy. It definitely scared me at times. But like I said, I thought it left a few too many questions unanswered. There's few too many jump scares for me, cheap jump scares. So overall, I did like the movie. So for my score, I'm going to give Blair Witch a 68%. It's still a good movie. It's a solid horror movie. It's not one of those really cheap January horror movies. It's still a really good scary movie that I think is worth you going out and seeing. I just had some problems with it here and there, and maybe because horror isn't my favorite genre. That's why I didn't love the movie, but I did really like it and it definitely scared me. So, mission complete. So there you guys have it. That's my review of the Blair Witch. Go out and see this movie. I mean, we're not quite to Halloween yet, I know, but it's still getting that fall time where horror movies are that's kind of what you're looking for. That's kind of what you want to watch, and the Blair Witch is a good one to go and see. Make sure you guys are following me on Twitter at Neat Movie News for all the latest in the world of movies. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you back here next time.